Warning! This video contains a lot of new stuff, so if you don't like spoilers of the upcoming cards, be careful. Okay? Terrakion retaliate every single time. Now that's just great. All the Zagroms or Magnezones will have to go home. And with Landorus by your side, you can use Gaia Hammer till they die. Okay. Sup YouTube, it's ZapdosTCG here, and we're already at episode 40. Wow, time is really flying by. Anyway, in this episode I'll be talking about the Terrakion / Landorus deck, and then at the end of the episode I'll be talking about the latest updates, like the new stuff, as I already mentioned. Wait, Terrakion and Landorus? Yeah, you heard me right, I'll be talking about those, because there's a new deck out there, and surprisingly it's doing really well. So, Terrakion, we already know the card since I talked about it before in the previous episode, so it's a good card, a high HP basic, and most people run one copy in their current deck just to have a bit of an edge against most lightning decks in the format. And someone actually decided to build a deck around Terrakion alone, so it has 4 Terrakions in it, and that's all. So here's how the deck works. You try to get out Terrakions at the beginning of the game by using Collector or Heavy Ball, and then when you have those out, you attach a Fighting Energy to your active Terrakion, or maybe a Rescue or stuff like that, and then you also attach this XP Share to one of your bench Terrakions, and then you go from there, because after your first Terrakion is knocked out, one of the basic energies goes to the one with XP Share, and then you can always attach a manual energy during your turn to be able to retaliate for 90 damage, and you just go from there with the help of Revive or the Super Rod Collector combo. You'll be able to get back all your Terrakions, and yeah, you can just be continuously attacking with retaliate for 90 damage, since every knockout of your Terrakion counts as an XP share method to get back an energy to the other Terrakion, and then be able to use the attack continuously in a row, which means Junk Arm is also essential in this deck, because yeah, the deck only runs 4 basics, and you can always get back your XP shares or revives or the good stuff like that, and you can just overload this deck with a lot of trainer cards and supporters cards. So this deck has a lot of consistency, and that's why it's so good, since it goes after the most played deck at in the format, which means Zekrom EX Electric. Usually it doesn't stand a chance against this deck, because they run EXs, and yeah, you don't give up 2 prize cards since you're not running any EXs, and you can beat the most played deck in the format with the help of Catcher and stuff. So yeah, that's why this deck became really good out of nowhere. And yeah, there's more people also tried out a different version of this deck by adding Landorus and Mewtwo EX, just because of the risk you take if some of your Terrakions are prized. So yeah, Landorus, I'm pretty sure you already know this card as well. His first attack lets you attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to himself. So if you start with Juniper, this could be your energy acceleration at the beginning of the game to attack on turn 2 for 80 damage. And also people like Shaman in this deck to move around the energies, and if you're in a tight situation. Aside to that, there's still room for many items, just like Durant. It doesn't have that many Pokemon, so you can boost your consistency with Poké-Gears or maybe some other stuff you want. And even Lost Remover could be your savior in need when you're up against decks that use a lot of DCEs, or if you're up against Mewtwo's and stuff. And then we have Plus Power, as I already mentioned, for more damage, and Catcher to select your target. So that pretty much wraps it up for the deck analysis of this episode. And yeah, you should definitely beware of this deck if you're running a lightning based deck. And now let's go to the long edition, or the extreme long edition of Poké-News. To start off, we have Landorus. Yeah, he's back, and this time in a full art version. You'll be able to get this card together with a promo Tornadus and a Thundurus in the upcoming Forces of Nature collection box. It contains 3 promo cards, as I mentioned, the 3 genies, or whatever you want to call them. And yeah, then it also contains 2 emerging power packs and 1 Call of Legend packs, which kind of sucks because both sets aren't actually that good for playability. Yeah, but we'll still be able to get the Landorus full art, and that alone is a reason to buy this box, or maybe if you want to have another Tornadus or Thundurus for your deck. Also, this box makes me believe that Call of Legends won't be illegal when we have another rotation, otherwise they just rip us off by putting a booster in that collection box. Yeah. Anyway, next on my list isn't actually trading card game related, but I'll go over it anyway. You know that there's a new Pokemon game that will be released pretty soon, which will be called Black and White 2, and yeah, they already have the scans of the box art available, and they say that will have a different storyline than the original games. And for those of you that don't know already, the Pokemon on the cover are both Kyurem, but they fuse together with either Zekrom or Reshiram. So it's morphing time in Pokemon. We'll have to wait and see how the Kyurems will be created. And aside to that, let's continue with more trading card game news. So there's a new scan that shows us Keldeo, which is one of the legendary Pokemon of Black and White, and this one comes as a water type in the trading card game, and yeah, it has weak attacks, but still it has a high HP for a basic, so that alone is a reason that it might get some playability. And now let's go to some other news, Japanese news to be exact, and it's definitely exciting. The complete scans of the 5th Japanese Black and White sets are now available, so go check them out at pokebeach.com, or if you're too lazy, continue watching this video because I'll be talking about most of the interesting cards. And yeah, just know that I'll leave the best for last, so I'll talk about the new EXs at the end of the video, or you can just click here to just skip all the other stuff. So yeah, we'll start off, and the very first card on my list is Hoppip. So yeah, that kinda sucks since it only has 30 HP, so let's go to his final stage, Jump Lift, and it has an ability that states, once during your turn, you may return this Pokemon and all cards attached to it back to your hand. So it kinda reminds me of Umbreon Prime, but yeah, it kinda sucks since you'll have to go way back to the stage 2 Pokemon if you are able to do that, so that's not anything that interesting. It only has 90 HP, so it will definitely get knocked out by most of the Pokemon in the format, although it has free retreat and a need attack for a single grass energy that states it deals 20 damage, and then flip 2 coins. For each head you deal an additional 30 damage, so it might deal 70 damage with a bit of luck. So yeah, I don't think it's that playable since the original Jump Lift is way better with his mass attack. And next is Ninkata. If you play the games or have played Ruby and Sapphire before, you know that this Pokemon evolves into, right, Ninjask. It doesn't have a lot of HP, but it has the ability Cast Shell, which states, once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, meaning Ninkata, and then your bench isn't full, you may search your deck for Shedinja and put it on your bench. So this is yeah, actually really interesting, and reminds us of the use of the effect in the game when you evolve it in the games as well. So yeah, Shedinja has free retreat, no weakness, and an attack that drops 3 damage counters anywhere on your opponent's side of the field for a single psychic energy. So why is this card a good card? Well, it's because he has a wicked ability that states, when Shedinja is knocked out, your opponent doesn't take any prize card. So this is definitely awesome. Just imagine if you have 4 of those out with the help of a first turn collector, and then be able to get out all those with Level Ball, and that'll be really trolling your opponent, because yeah, if they knock you out, they don't take a prize card, and you can just stall quite a bit and deal 30 damage each turn on yeah, your opponent's side of the field. So it could be the new troll deck, except for Duran. So we have Duran and Shedinja. Maybe there'll be yeah, a comparison there, because they're quite annoying, those decks. So next up is Feebas, which evolves into the beautiful Milotic, 110 HP and 1 retreat, so not bad, but it's all about the first attack with this card. It states, choose 3 cards from your deck and put them in your hand for only a water energy. So yeah, if water ever gets played, they might consider running 1 or 2 of this Pokemon. Just imagine you can use his first attack and get out Twins and 2 other cards, and then you'll be able to sacrifice your Milotic, and yeah, be able to use Twins the next turn and the other 2 cards you got out of your deck. So it's a really help you out in different situations, so it's definitely interesting to look out for. And next is Spiel, which goes to Celio, and then to Walrein. Walrein is your everyday stage 2 Pokemon, a horrible retreat, a bad attack, but his second attack is really worth mentioning. Remember Vanillux of Noble Victories that can completely lock you out? Well, there's another option available if you want to do that. There's Walrein. It deals 60 damage with a second attack and automatically paralyzes your opponent, but you can use this attack next turn, so it's definitely nice to definitely paralyze your opponent straight away, but it needs a lot of energies, 4 to be exact, and maybe with the help of the Vanillux from Next Destinies to switch around your Pokemons, you might be able to overcome the effect of the attack and do it twice in a row. But yeah, let's go on to the next card, Electrike, which goes to Manectric, and this one has free retreat and can be brought out with Level Ball, so that alone is pretty good to be played, meaning yeah, we'll use it for his first attack, and it deals 20 damage times the amount of energies that your opponent has in play, which means if your opponent is using energy acceleration, this card might come out of nowhere to do a lot of damage. And next is Gottatel, which goes to Gottatel with the help of a simple rare candy, and I'm only mentioning Gottatel for his first attack. 1 Psychic and a Card's energy is all it takes to knock out every Pokemon in the game. Yeah, you heard me right. You have to flip 2 coins If both of them are heads, your opponent is definitely knocked out immediately. So this reminds me of the Dusclops of Sandstorm, which also had an attack like that. But yeah, now we have Leptini in our format. This might do the trick to knock out every Pokemon you're up against, but Gothitelle has the problem against Mewtwo, so I don't think it'll be played that much, but still it's interesting as I said. Next is Golett, which goes to Golrock. Again, this one is only mentioned for his first attack, 1 Psychic and a DCE this time, deals 60 damage, and then removes the top evolution card from the defending Pokemon and return it to his or her hand. So this is definitely interesting if you want to knock out a stage 2, if they evolved it with rare candy. That way all the Pokemon get knocked out. Like just think about Magnezone, goes back to Magnemite, has 60 damage, gets knocked out. Typhlosion goes back to Cyndaquil, gets 60 damage, knocked out. So it's really easy to get rid of the stage 2. So this is only a stage 1, so it might see some playability when the stage 2s are back in the format. And next we have Cubone that goes to Marowak, or should I say Marowak? Yeah, you heard me right, because there's not anything that special about this card, although it's a fighting type, so it might see some playability with the popular lightning Pokemon that are still around, and maybe the new darkness Pokemon that are lurking around the corner. So maybe yeah, we'll have to wait and see if the Marowak gets see some playability, although it sucks. Okay, next is Roggenrola, another fighting type, which goes to Gigalith with rare candy, another stage 2. Everything about this card sucks except for his first attack again. This one deals for a fighting energy and a DCE, 10 damage plus 10 more for each damage counter on your entire field, so or on your side of the field to be exact, which means this can deal a lot of damage with a Reuniclus combo. I'm just saying because yeah, it'll be really funny to deal like 250 damage out of nowhere if you put Reuniclus and Regigigas in your deck. Just put everything on Regigigas and then use the attack of Gigalith. So interesting as well. Next up we have Tro and Sock. Both suck, so let's go on to Stunky, which goes to Skuntank. Everything here sucks as well except for the first attack, which might be annoying. It deals 20 damage and poisons your opponent's Pokemon, and then if your opponent's active Pokemon tries to attack that turn or on the next turn, they have to flip a coin. If tails, the attack does nothing. So yeah, another annoying card. I'm just mentioning all the cards that are in the set, or the most interesting ones that you don't have to be surprised which cards that will come out in the future. Next we have Probopass that doesn't do much, so let's go on. Now we have the dragons, but I already reviewed most of those in the previous episode, so check those out if you haven't already. We have the most cards like Altaria, Rayquaza, the Garachomps, the Heydragons, and the good stuff like that. Next we have Slakoth, which goes to the Lazy Slacking, that has 150 HP, but it has the worst ability yet. Just like in the games, it's just so lazy. It states if the defending Pokemon is a basic Pokemon, Slacking cannot attack. How lame is that, since most of the decks use basic Pokemon to attack? Just remember, Mewtwo reacts, Zekroms and the stuff like that, so this won't be played at all, at least not now, because all the decks run on basics at the moment. Next is Bouffalant, aka Tauros, with an afro hairstyle. Yeah, I just wanted to say that because it just they seem so alike. So this one also has an ability, and let's just say it's the exact same thing like the Pokébody of Donphan Prime. It reduces all the damage done to him by 20. But the thing is that that makes this card so good is his attack that deals 60 damage, and if the defending Pokemon is an EX card, it deals 120 damage instead for only 3 energies, or 2 if you count in a DCE. So that's pretty amazing, and this will definitely see playability if EXs are still huge, which they are. And next we have Braviary, and yeah, it has free retreat and a decent attack, or 2 decent attacks, and the second one lets you flip 3 coins for each head, deal 50 damage, but the problem is the weakness to lightning and the low HP. Next is Yanmega, and this one sucks, so let's go on to Wurmple, which goes to Beautifly or Dustox if you count in Silcoon or Cascoon. So yeah, Beautifly can bring out 3 different types of energies and let you attach them in any way you like with its first attack, but having to rely on a stage 2 for energy acceleration, and it has to attack in order to do that, is not a good thing. So I prefer Ambor as a stage 2 energy acceleration card. Anyway, next is Dustox, again another weak stage 2, but this one is interesting with its first attack, and the defending Pokemon is now asleep, burn and poison, so that's painful indeed. If they have a retreat cost of 4 or 3, that's way they'll be stuck and they'll be knocked out faster than you can count. So yeah, well, we're talking about special conditions. The Ninetales that I talked about a few episodes ago, that will be the Box Stopper or something like that, deals 20 damage plus 50 more for each special condition on the defending Pokemon. So we might see a combo of this, although I prefer Amoonguss for this combo combo, and the ability of Ninetales is just like a catcher. When you evolve it, you can just catch her. And next is Roserade number 1, since there are 2, which is 1 Roserade and the team deck and 1 in the set. So yeah, it's all about the first attack again with most cards of the latest set. And yeah, this attack states flip 4 coins. For each head you deal 30 damage. If you're really lucky, you'll be able to deal 120 damage. So there are a lot of interesting cards, as you can see. Hopefully this means we'll have more variation in our format or new deck ideas. So let's go on. And then next we have Wailmer, which has yeah, it's a basic with 100 HP. What more can you ask for? And it also can evolve. So yeah, it evolves to the gigantic Wailord. And this is sort of a shout out to Tadashi Studio, since he really likes Wailord. And this one has 200 HP. Again, his first attack is the one you should be looking at. It states flip a coin. If heads, it deals 30 damage times the number of water energies that are attached to this Pokemon. So this means if you have like 5 water energies attached to your Wailord and you do this attack and you flip heads, you deal what is it again? 5 times 30, which is 150 damage. So yeah, pretty scary for a Wailord. So that's a nice option if you combine it with Fliptini. And now we have another water type Floatzel, but this one isn't worth mentioning. So let's go on to Seismitoad, which sucks as well. And then we have another playable card, Ampharos, with 140 HP stage 2. So you have to use rare candy for that. And it has a decent attack that deals 70 damage and snipes an opponent's bench Pokemon for 20 as the side effect of that attack. So really good. And then the ability it has is also really interesting. It reminds me somewhat of Ampharos Prime's Pokébody, but in this case Ampharos needs to be active and it's a bit more powerful. It states, as long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, whenever your opponent attaches an energy card from his or her hand to one of his or her Pokemon, place 3 damage counters on that Pokemon. But of course, if your opponent is smart and yeah, is getting energies out of the discard pile instead of yeah, his or her hand, or using a card like Dark Patch to get him out of the discard pile again, or Electric, they won't be affected at all. So yeah, interesting. But let's go on to Drifloon, that goes to Drifblam. Again, we're going to look at the first attack, and it deals 50 damage times the number of special energy cards in your opponent's discard pile. So this can stack up really fast if your opponent plays a lot of Junipers, or if you manage to knock out a few Pokemon that has special energies. And this could definitely help you out, although the weakness it has sucks. Next is Sigilyph, which is one of the few psychic Pokemon that stands a chance against Mewtwo EX. Yeah, you heard me right, just because this one has the ability we've all been waiting for. It prevents all effects of attacks, including damage done to him by your opponent's Pokemon EX card. So yeah, this will definitely see some playability, I'm sure of it, and it's the best answer to EXs, although it doesn't have a lot of HP. So the regular Zekrom will still knock it out, and the regular Reshiram as well. So yeah, we'll have to be careful with this one. Maybe we'll have to use Eviolite, because even Terrakion can knock it out in one blow. And then next up we have definitely an awesome card. We have Trubbish that goes to Garbodor, the garbage Pokemon, but this time around the card isn't garbage at all, just because his ability is so good. It states, as long as this Pokemon has any tool cards attached to it, there's an ability lock in play, which means no abilities can be used anymore. Even if you have a Pokemon with an ability in your hand or in the discard pile or in your field, all abilities are dead. So you might as well say goodbye Electric. And then next we have Claydol, which sucks. Then we have Honchkrow that deals 70 damage with his second attack, and the effect of that attack states discard 1 card from your opponent's hand without looking. So a bit of disruption isn't always that bad, considering that you can build him up with Dark Patch and a DCE. And next is Aron, which goes to Aggron, which is one of the most popular Pokemon out of the Hoenn region, and it goes to there with a rare candy, and his attack sucks. But this one also has a disruption ability. It states when you evolve it, you have to discard the top 3 cards from your opponent's deck. So that's really nice to hear. But yeah, Aggron is just catcher material if you think about it, with the retreat cost it has. So this thing will never work unless you're on Vanillux to switch out, or some switches and stuff. So yeah, talking about discarding the top cards of your opponent's deck, remember Durant? Yeah, the one that everyone hates to play against. Well, we'll be getting a new Durant as well, and this one is terrible. Yeah, that feels really great to say. And then next up is Ambipom. This time we'll be looking at the second attack again. It deals 10 damage times the number of cards in your hand. Wow, for a DCE it's definitely not bad. Just use Juniper, dealing 70 damage straight away. And then next we have Bibarel, and this one has an annoying attack as well. Amnesia, the first attack, deals 40 damage for 3 energies, and then you can choose an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, and he or she can't use that attack during his or her next next turn. So you might as well say you can use X-Ball during your next turn. This will be annoying, just as in the video games Bibarel is annoying. And that's all for the regular Pokemon of the set. We'll be looking at the ones from the team decks pretty soon. Now let's check out the new awesome EXs. We'll already checked out the Rayquaza EX and Giratina EX in the previous episode, but yeah, there are other EXs that are just waiting to be revealed that are just as epic. We start with Ho-Oh EX, and his ability Phoenix states if Ho-Oh EX is in your discard pile, flip a coin. If heads, attach 3 different basic energy cards to this card and play it onto your bench straight away. So yeah, you can just revive this Pokemon or give him new life just like a Phoenix, and it's just perfect with Sylin. Just get out 3 different types of energies and just attach them all to a Ho-Oh. So yeah, this is definitely interesting. If you consider that you can use Juniper at the start, just discard that Ho-Oh, or use Junkrum to get it there, and then use Sylin to get 3 energies, and yeah, if you have a bit of luck, flip a coin. If heads, you can just bring him out and just start to attack. Although his attack really isn't that interesting, or yeah, it doesn't deal a lot of damage to be honest. It states it deals 20 damage plus 20 more for each different type of basic energy attached to this Pokemon. So with 3 energies, or 3 different type of energies, you'll be able to deal 80 damage, which isn't that impressive at all. Although it's nice to hear you'll be able to use the ability to bring back a Pokemon from the discard pile. So abilities out of the discard pile is something that isn't heard of, bringing back Pokemon with an ability. But yeah, it's interesting, as I already mentioned. Next up is Registeel EX, a massive HP Pokemon compared with the metal type is just perfect. Can you imagine it? 4 special metals, an Eviolite, and yeah, this one will be unstoppable if it isn't up against a fire Pokemon. Anyway, his first attack lets you do the exact same thing like Glaciate, but then only for 3 targets, which is more than enough. And his second attack is just bad because it needs 4 energies to only deal 80 damage, or 3 energies if you can in a DCE. But the effect of the attack states any damage done to Registeel during your next turn or during your opponent's next turn is reduced by 20. So if you count in those special metals and Eviolite, you have a pretty strong wall, which is one of the best defenses in the entire format. And next we have Terrakion EX, another huge HP basic, and this one will definitely see some playability because of his second attack. Also his first attack is really decent. It deals 50 damage without any resistance on the opponent's Pokemon, so that's really great. And then we have his second attack that deals 90 damage, and then the effect of that attack is just simply awesome. It states choose 2 basic energy cards from your hand and attach them to your bench Pokemon in any way you like. So talk about energy acceleration without having to get out the stage 1 or stage 2 to do that. So really great. And the last EX is Mew. It doesn't have a lot of HP, but that's to be expected from Mew. But yeah, at least it has more than Shaman, which is nice. And it also has the ability to use all of the attacks of all the Pokemon in play. So yeah, even you can use the attacks from your opponent if you want to, but you still need the necessary energies to use each attack though. Nevertheless, it can come in handy just out of nowhere to copy one of your opponent's stage 2 attacks or something like that. So quite interesting. Or maybe if you have a DCN in your hand and your opponent has a Mewtwo, you can just X-Ball yourself to get out prizes that way. So we might see a Mewtwo versus Mew in the card game, just like in the movie. That'll be pretty epic. Let's check out his attacks too. It's called Replace, and for a Psychic Energy, it lets you move around all the energies around in your field, just like Shaman's Pokepower. And that's it for the EXs. Now let's take a look at the new shinies. We have Reuniclus, which is a reprinted version of the one from Black and White that lets you remove or move around damage counters. Then we have Rayquaza, which has the exact same attacks as the one I mentioned a few episodes ago, and then a reprinted version of Serperior, again with the ability, and another reprinted version of Crocodile from Dark Rush. So as we see, all the shinies are reprinted so far, which means they might reprint other Pokemon with abilities. Just imagine yourself a shiny electric. We'll have to wait and see. There's also the team decks that come with the set, and we have a Garchomp team deck and then a Heydraken team deck. And yeah, those contain some other cards that I haven't talked about. The second Rose Raid, which has the ability to search your deck for any one card and put it in your hand when you evolve it. So pretty interesting. Then we have a new Houndoom and a new Magikarp, which has 30 HP. How surprising, but we all know that it evolves into the almighty Gyarados, although this one takes a while to set up, so it might not be a good thing. And now let's check out all the trainer cards. To start off, I want to say that Rare Candy will be reprinted in both the team decks, so if you don't have any Rare Candies yet, that'll be a great chance to get a few. Alright, the first first trainer card is called Tool Scraper, and it lets you discard up to 2 tool cards from either player's Pokemon, so it could be great to get rid of a bunch of Eviolites or XP shares in a row, which makes Durant even more unreliable. Next is Large Cloak, which is a tool card that raises the maximum HP by 20, so this can give Regigigas or Registeel a great edge if you want to have a great defensive Pokemon. Then there's also a Devolution Spray that lets you remove the top evolution card from one of your Pokemon and then put it back in your hand. This could be great to replay a bunch of abilities like a Moongrass, for example. And up next we have Rescue Scarf, which is another tool card which has the same effect as Rescue Energy, but it isn't an energy, which means you can give an energy from your turn to someone else and just give this to a Pokemon you want to rescue. It'll be pretty great because it'll return to your hand once it's knocked out. And lastly there's Ultra Ball, which is a really playable search card that lets you discard 2 cards from your hand in order to search your deck for any Pokemon you want. And then we also have the new energies, but I talked about those before, so I won't go over them again. And now we'll return to some English news to finish off Poké-News with our upcoming set, Darkness Explorers. And yeah, they already released some arts of the booster packs, and as we see, the set comes with Venusaur, Excadrill, Darkrai and Scrafty boosters. And yeah, we already have some images of the team decks as well, which will feature Cofagrigus and Zoroark. And then there's of course the new blister with a Crocodile evolution line. And to finish off, we have scans of some new English cards. To start off, we have Darkrai X, which has the ability to bring free retreat to all your Pokemon that have darkness energies attached to them. Next we have Zoroark, and lastly is Umbreon. And that's it for the Extreme Edition of Poké-News, as well as the entire episode this week. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. You know I always appreciate that. And if you have any questions, thoughts, epic new deck ideas and the stuff like that, go to the comment section and let everyone know what's on your mind. And for those of you that haven't subscribed yet and you really want to stay tuned for the latest updates, you can do it straight away. Anyway, this was ZapdosTCG. Thanks for watching again. Have a nice day, and till next time.